Hello all, welcome back. Thank you for joining my Python programming tutorial for beginners. In today's class, we are going to talk about Python MySQL. How MySQL can be connected and then how a database can be created, how a table can be created, how data will be inserted, how we can fetch the data from the database and how can we use where clause in order by how to delete and how do we delete the table and how do we update, how do we limit the number of records and how do we use the join to join multiple tables. Okay, so assume that you already have a MySQL database, so install MySQL connector. Assume that it is already installed in your machine. If not, go through this installation setup and then install MySQL as well as the MySQL driver connector. In this, what we are going to do is we use the W3 Schools editor to write the programs. Okay, so let us to import MySQL package, you need to import mysql.connector. So that is the first program. So you can actually test it and it is imported and there is no error thrown. That means we are able to import the MySQL connector. Now the important statement first we need to do is we need to import connector, and after that we need to have a connection MySQL connection handle. So you can get the connection handle by passing the host name, that means either localhost or the IP address, and then username of that database, MySQL database, and password. And then, so let us run this. So that means connector object is created. Okay. So definitely you need to have a connection to the database, MySQL database server, to actually create or do all the MySQL or SQL related commands. Okay, so for every database connection, right, or MySQL database server connection, we need to have a database. Okay, so to use that, we need to see, the assumption is you are already familiar with the SQL. Okay, if you are not familiar, you can actually go through MySQL tutorial which is mentioned in the W3 schools. Okay, so for your understanding, or in future I will create MySQL tutorials. You can come back and watch my MySQL tutorials. Okay, in this we will briefly describe about how to connect to the database and how to create a database and how to fetch the data, how to insert the data, all those and how to use that in our programming is what we were concentrating on this tutorial. Okay, so now we have connected. The next step is we have to create a cursor for that connector, and then we have to write the respective database statement. What is that? First thing we need to do is create database, right? Create database and my database. Okay, so my cursor and then execute. So what will happen? This one, so we are not printing anything, but there is no error thrown, right? That means my database has been created. The host is localhost, username is my username, and password is my password. And we have created the cursor and then we have executed. So this is the sample program, first program which we have written. So now let us see if a database exists, right? We have created the database, right? So now let us see how this will work. Okay, you see in the database we have created the database, right? Now it has my database. You see my database, these are system databases, but my database exists. So for that what we have done, so we have actually imported the connector and then we have handle of connector we connected, and then we created the cursor, and then we executed the database with show databases. This is one of the command in MySQL, so it has executed the show database. So now for each database we have printed the database. So now to connect to the particular database, we have to pass on that database name also. So then we will get the handle to the, otherwise we have to use the database, and then every time we have to connect to the database server, and then we have to use the database. If we add the database, then directly it will connect to the database. It will connect to the database. Okay. So now the important factor in database is we are creating the customers as a table. So that will have customer name and customer address. Okay. So what we are doing, we are importing the connector, and then we are connecting to the database, my database, and then we have created the cursor, and then now we have created the table with the customers table and a name with the varchar of 255 and address of 255 of varchar. I think let us actually create that table also. So this has created the table. Now to see whether the table exists, okay, so now import the connector, connect to the database and create a cursor, and then execute show tables. So show tables will create the list of tables which are there in the database, that is my database. Okay, so now it has displayed, we have created the customers database, so it has actually displayed the customer database. Now any database we can actually create table customers with primary key and auto increment with the ID. So if you want to do that, you can actually add that in the SQL statement, and you can create that. Okay, so create table customers ID into auto increment. So now to check if the table exists, use the alter table to add the column into with auto increment as a primary key. That is also possible. Okay, if it is not created, you can actually alter the table. So these are all available in our MySQL tutorial. Those who want to go to that one, use that MySQL, or come back to me in my future MySQL tutorial. Now we have created the table. So let us connect to the table and insert. So what are the values it has? It has auto increment value of int, and the name and address and values, and what are the values we are giving? Values as then John highway, and then we are executing, right? SQL and values. Okay, actually we can directly add the values here with the format statement, but we can pass values like this, and then after the values are inserted, you need to commit, otherwise records will not be committed, data will not be committed inside the table. Okay, so now you see we have actually inserted. If you execute this, another record also will be inserted. John and highway 21 is inserted. Let us go through the steps one by one. We have imported the connector, and we have connected to the localhost, username, password, and my database, which we have already created earlier. Then created the my cursor as a mydb.cursor, and then we have created a variable, string variable with the SQL statement, and then val variable with the values. Okay, and then we have executed in this format, execute SQL comma And actually we can directly create the one SQL statement and execute, but we have created like this and we have committed. This is very important, otherwise it will not insert into the table. So let us move to the next one. So if you want to insert multiple rows, then you can actually add multiple rows or multiple values in this, right? And then use execute many command to execute this. You see 13 records were inserted. Okay, so each one is located with one row. Okay, now so you can get the ID of that particular ID. What is that ID? It is little bit slow. Okay, you see it has inserted into the 15th position and it has returned my cursor dot last row ID. Okay, so you get that. So you need to remember these things while coding, or when you are coding, refer back to this site and then write the code. Now we want to display all the details. So select star from customer will fetch all the records. Now what we are doing is we are actually fetch all my result, fetch all, and then for X in my result we are printing each one. So it will print all the records inside the database. See one, initially first we assigned, right, and then later we created 13 records and then another last record we added here. Okay, and 1 2 3 4 we have not given that, that is an auto increment. We are only adding these details, right, the second column and third column. Okay, and we are printing. Hope you are following. So you can actually specify column names. Earlier we given select star, now we are given name and address. Okay, that also it will actually fill each row, but we can also assign these variables to the specific names and we can print them. This is the these are the name and address which is actually returned instead of including the ID. Okay, so for each one it is, so that means you can actually use that array to display the name and value. Okay, right, it is the name, right, so you can display the name and value of the index, right. So let us see print result of 0 is this, comma my result of 1, comma my result of 2, because there are 3 records, right. Oh, you cannot execute. Okay, so that is how it is. So now you can use the where clause to filter a particular fetch based on some parameter. So we want to actually filter select star from customers where address equal to Park Lane 38. Okay, so this is the, so it will only fetch that particular record for it is available in X. Okay, my result to my result, for each one it will print. So you can actually use there are 3 records. So X contains 3 rows, so X of 0, X of 1 and X of 2. sorry, three records, uh, three columns, not records. So x of 0, x of 1 and x of 2. So now see whatever you are using in MySQL, it will work here. Okay, for example, if you use address like and percentage way percentage, so way whichever matches with the way in that address will be printed. See here, three are matched, so those are actually printed. So the example is, we have imported the connector and we have connected to the database. We got the database handle, and then we created the cursor, and then we got the cursor, and we created the SQL statement with the SQL format, and then string format, and then we have called myCursor.execute function with the SQL as the input argument, input parameter, and then myCursor fetch all we have created, and then for each, which is actually returned in my result, and for each x of my result we are printing here, it is printing three records. Okay, so let us verify. Now you can actually do that dynamic value change. Here address is yellow, so you can actually add it here, and then you can pass that argument, and then get the corresponding value, okay, based on the condition. Okay, so system is little bit slow, so bear with me. So now yellow garden equal to address, whichever is the customer details we are printing. Okay, so first connector, and then we need to connect, we need to import the connector, then connect, and then create the cursor, then create a SQL statement, and then execute that SQL statement either directly or with the arguments, and then fetch all, my cursor dot fetch all, and then we get that result, and then when we get the result, you have to you can print each record. Okay, so that is the example. So let us use order by in the segment. Okay, so it is a part of SQL statement, SQL language, right? MySQL language. So you can understand. You can go through the tutorial and understand the MySQL before you work on the MySQL program. So here what we are doing, select star name. That means we are ordering, that is the second column is the name, so we are ordering it by name. That means you see the first index, which is auto increment, has actually resulted in a incremental order of name. Okay, so again it is we have imported the connector, and we have connected to the database with local host, username, password, and database. We created the cursor, and we created the SQL statement with the order by, and we have executed, and we have fetched all the records, and then we have printed. Okay, so see, order by default is an incremental order, right? That is ascending order. So we can also add a descending order. Okay, so descending order, see, A started at the end, A ended up at the end, and the W is at the beginning, right, with the name. Okay, so in the SQL statement we just added order by name and DESC. That means it is a, we are actually requesting the select statement with the descending order. So the rest of the program remains same, but the order, the returned values are in a returned in descending order based on the name. So now till now we have created the database, we have created the table, we have inserted the records, and we have fetched the records. Now let us delete a record. Okay, so deleting means we have to use delete from and a table name, where, and a condition. Here we want to delete with the address equal to mountain 21. Okay, so what it will happen, and you have to use the commit, otherwise that will not work. So when we are writing the programs with the large or a simple project, So one is deleted, right? So mountain view, let us actually fetch all the records. So where is that? Select. Okay. Let us actually select star from customers. You know that is gone. Mountain level. Okay. So this one record is deleted. So you have to ensure that SQL injection is prevented. Escape values are there. Okay. So use the placeholder to escape values in the delete statement. Okay. For example, we add here, okay, percentages. So you have to ensure that escape value is deleted instead of the previous statement directly adding here. Okay, it is better always to keep that percentage statement that prevent from cyber security also. Okay, fraudsters can attack your database by using the SQL injection with the escape. So now, till now we have created the table. Okay, if we use the drop table, we are actually cleaning up. That means the table is deleted. You see, table is deleted and it is successful. No error. Now drop only if it exists. That means drop only if it exists. Drop only if it does not exist, then it will not drop. So the function is successful. Okay, right? Function is successful. Now, now what we can do is, if you want to update the value, you can update where based on the condition, right? You can update this and commit it. These are all SQL statements. If you know how to run one SQL statement and fetch and then, so it is all easy to work with MySQL database in updated. Next SQL query will always give again what we have discussed is SQL injection. Always better to keep the parameters outside of the SQL statement. Okay. Now, the limit is very much useful function. For example, if you want to limit the number of records which you want to fetch, okay, you can use this. Okay, for example, here limit 5. That means it will return that many number of records first. If you want to limit fetch only one record, then use the condition and give one. Then it will return only the top top one. Okay, so that way you can actually make it as a get only one record kind of condition in your SQL statements. You don't want to. Okay, so if you want to fetch from 5, offset is 2, then it will fetch from third record. Okay, with 5 records. So you can actually limit one, offset 2 means you can get the third record, only one record. Okay, that way you can actually use the limit function to get the nth row in that particular record. Okay, in that particular record. Okay, from third onwards we are fetching. Okay, that way. Now we have another important topic, which is actually when you are going through MySQL, you will understand the joins, and the expectation is you are already familiar with the MySQL statements. So let us see, there are you can combine two rows from one, two or more tables based on the related columns by using the just join statement. Okay, so for example, users as a id, name and address, and then products as id and a name. Okay, so then products address, right? Favorite product is 154, right? These are the tables. These two tables can be combined by using the fav field and products id. Okay, let us see this example and we will explain. Select star, so user dot name, as we mentioned, right? Select user dot name as user and product name as a favorite. That means user and favorite from users. Okay, and then inner join products on users dot fav equal to product dot fav, and execute will remain same, but it all depends on your SQL inner join. So John, chocolate, Peter. So this actually, if you will not go in detail of inner outer join, okay, you can go to MySQL and uh, understand this. Okay, understand the SQL statements. In this program, how do we actually execute, connect, connector, how to import the connect to the database, and then create a cursor, create an SQL statement, and execute and fetch all and display. Okay, that is all about. And for more SQL programming, I will have a separate session on MySQL. You can come back in my future sessions. Okay, thank you for joining, and if you like it, like, share and subscribe, and keep watching my videos.